So here we are to wrap up 2 previous episodes of grounding into something that's a little bit more practical, applicable, something that you might want to do around the house, and we'll get to that literally. This is going to be a chalk and talk, so I'm going to go straight for the chalkboard. So here I have what might be a prospective ham shack. We'll put it right here. Now, we have, let's say, a service ground right here. This is the point that you want to connect all of your equipment to. This is the ultimate ground for both safety and as a practical concern. And this is going to come especially important in the field of induced currents and shared currents and circuit paths. This rod right here into the ground is, as we've discussed before, a value of somewhere between, if you were lucky, 10 ohms to maybe 10,000 ohms, such that if something dramatic were to happen, a lightning strike, this point would become elevated to all other points at some very remote distance. Where that distance is immaterial. However, to improve this situation, and especially if you were erecting, say, a tower over here, something of that nature, or something that anticipated a long wire or even a dipole connection to the house, we have problems. This has its own ground simply by the proximity of the nature of what's beneath it. Similarly here, each of these points is different in potential than this. So the practical answer to that, and I'll make this apparent, is called bonding. So now we have the shack, both towers, or whatever masts that you might have, erections. All 3 points are tied together electrically to your service entrance. If any of these paths were to break, you're in trouble. Now, in lieu of earlier discussion of putting other ground rods into the system, we might want to consider a connection here. And one right here. We could create a star configuration. That's one possibility, and I've seen that applied in many regulations, codes. Or we could continue and similarly one back here and one here, such that we now go we have a ring configuration. That can be helpful as well. So there's any number of possibilities in creating ground situations such that these additional spikes lower your total resistance to the ground and also spread the risk, so to speak, keeping this point a very low potential if any currents were to intrude into it. We'll get into that, we'll get into that discussion later with QRM. Certainly, QRN is also one way to reduce it is to snub it before it gets into shack. So I'm going to close it up with this short discussion. I hope you found that practical, and 73s.